What's up, everybody? OldSchoolNYCGamer here once again with another video. And today, everybody, I just wanted to talk about a very, very strong subject that some of you might like, some of you might not like, and that is emulation. And of course, now I can already see the purists turning their nose up about this, but you got to hear me out on some of the points I'm trying to make here, especially, we are now in 2014. So when it comes to emulation, there's two sides to it. There's the good side and the bad side. Of course, the good side I do want to point out first is, thanks to a lot of flash cartridges such as the EverDrive for the Super Nintendo, NES, Genesis, so on and so forth, you can actually at least play some of those really hard to get / expensive games on the original hardware. Even the Harmony card for the Atari 2600, whereas you don't want to get all those games, just have it in one cartridge, you could do that and still play it on the original hardware. So technically, in that aspect, it's not emulation. Now, on the bad side, of course, we're going to talk about something, and I know it's been talked about quite a bit lately, and Hyperkin's Retron 5, now, they, of course, are in serious trouble from what I've been reading. Basically, they pulled almost pretty much the same thing that Tomo did with the Neo Geo X. They basically ripped off a developer's emulator, put it on their system, and not even saying anything about it. Whereas the Neo Geo X, they were using the Final Alpha Burn emulator, and of course that was for free, not for sale, and of course they got screwed on that. But I don't know the legality of what happened with that. Hopefully it was either taken care of, or the developers are still going after that. So I don't know how the legality is when it comes to the Neo Geo X. Now with Hyperkin and the Retron 5, now of course, like I said before, the idea itself is actually not bad, but from reading so many reviews and watching so many reviews of this system, it kind of turned me off, to be quite honest with you, just for the fact that it's an emulation system, and for the fact that most emulators can actually play these games not so badly. The fact that the Retron 5 can't even play certain games, and people are dropping money for this, it's ridiculous. Now, the one thing I would give Hyperkin is at least they were trying to really work hard on the updates via the SD card. So that was one aspect of it. Now, of course, if this does go to court, or the developers go as far as take this to court and show that they were ripped off by Hyperkin, it's really not going to look good on them or with the company. At least if you were upfront and saying that you use these, and at least maybe compensate the developers. Maybe it wouldn't have even gotten to this stage. That's the point I'm trying to make here. So, for example, even like I said, certain emulators can work good, some not. And even lately, I'll show you what I'm talking about right now. So I'm just reaching for it here. Is my PSP 3000. Now, some of the games here don't play as good, but some do. So I'm just going to show you just a few of them here, just to kind of make my point on this. That you necessarily don't need the specific handheld, i.e. the Neo Geo X. You can play the Neo Geo on this, and it actually plays better, and it sounds more accurate compared to the Neo Geo X. And I will understand for collectors, they wanted it, but for me, as much as I like playing the Neo Geo, I'm not going to drop that money for something that can't even, sound right. If I want to get that, entire experience, some of the emulators out there are actually better than sometimes the stuff that, Hyperkin would put out, or even at games, actually, when they put out the, I believe the Sega Genesis plug and play, and that's a whole nother thing within itself. So let me show you a little bit of the PSP here, and I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, so before we start, I just wanted to remind you that this is a modded PSP 3000, and just to show you that I am not joking here, I'm going to hit the select button, so you can see right there. Well, if you can see a little better, this actually has been flashed. So this is, like I said, a modded PSP. So let me show you some of the emulators that I have here. Now, of course, some do work better than others. I actually have tried a few, which I'll talk about in a second here. Now, of course, this is a flash recovery, and this is Fuse for the ZX Spectrum. And this is the Capcom C PS1 emulator. Now, I tried running the C PS2 emulator, and I could not get the ROMs to run correctly, which, trust me, I spent quite a bit to try to get it to work, and I couldn't get it to work, so I was pretty PO'd about that. So moving on, this is the ColecoVision emulator right here, the Colam as they call it. The Atari 800 PSP, and this also runs 5200 games as well. Vice for the Commodore 64. The SNES emulator, which is actually not a bad emulator. I actually did play a little bit of this, and it actually works pretty good. Now, this one I'm actually going to eventually try to find the ROMs for, and this is for the Sinclair ZX81. This is a precursor to the ZX Spectrum itself. The Vectrex emulator. Now, of course, I did try this a little bit. It's okay. It really doesn't fit the screen too well, even if you have it, this way or just full screen. It's I really wouldn't recommend it. It's just kind of a quick time killer depending on what game I wanted to play. And now this is UAE, which is for the Commodore Amiga. Not too bad. I'm still working the kinks out on it to figure out how to work that. And this one here is for the MSX. And over here is the PSP INT, or the Intellivision. Now, some of the games are a little more finicky than others. The control scheme really by ZX81 really could actually make it work a little better. And over here is the PC Engine, also known as the TurboGrafx 16. Runs pretty good here. And this is one I was really excited to get. The V-Dragon, or actually, sorry, the Dragon 32. For a lot of people who don't know, the Dragon software you could also run Tandy color computer games through this emulator, which is actually really cool. And here is the Cap32, or the I believe the Amstrad CPC 464 emulator. And over here is for the BBC Micro, which I really haven't tested yet. Over here is the Atari 7800 emulator, which does work. It's really a really good emulator. And over here, of course, speaking of Atari, this is the PSP 2600. And this is, definitely one that I always do go to a lot. It's a very good emulator. And next off here is the Pico Drive. Also, the for the Sega Genesis, doesn't really play 32X games that well, and I don't recommend trying to play Sega CD games on it. It really just runs Mega Drive and Sega Genesis titles. And this is Neo Pop, which is basically the Neo Geo Pocket. And over here is the Nintendo emulator, Nestor J. Neo Geo emulator, which I did talk about, this definitely runs a lot better than the Neo Geo X, in my opinion. And this is the Master Boy, which is for the Sega Master System. And this is MAME right here, MAME for All. Runs pretty good on most of the classic games. Some a little slower than others. You just got to know how to clock it correctly. And Handy. Handy here is the Atari Lynx emulator. Now, problem with this emulator, honestly, really, it's a lot of slowdown. Surprisingly, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'll just start it up. It really should actually run a lot faster than I would think, especially for this machine here to handle this kind of power. I'll just show you what I'm talking about here. Let me just find a game. I'll just pick one random game here. I'll pick Double Dragon. And just show you what I'm talking about here. So you can tell by the sound itself that it's actually a little... So you can tell just from the slowdown there, and you could hear it. And actually, this is the full screen. This is exactly what you would see when you're playing it on the PSP. Now the sound does seem to be a little bit off. I think it's just because it's an overclocking issue. But let me just go back into the home screen here. Just talk a little bit rest about the emulators here. Okay, so we were talking about, of course, like I said, the Lynx. And yeah, so this one here, this is for the Game Boy Color and Game Boy emulator. So of course I did also load some ISOs of games that I have, and of course here is Metal Slug Anthology, Metal Slug Double X, and one game Cubic 1 recommended that I should get, and that is Ultimate Ghouls and Ghosts, Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins, and I've actually played this quite a bit. Really, really awesome. This is a nice little compilation here. Taito Legends Power Up and SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1. And of course, 2 here that I had to grab were the Pinball Hall of Fame Williams Collection and the Gottlieb Collection and Crazy Taxi Fair Wars. This, I believe, is the Capcom Classics Collection Remix. And this is the Capcom... blah, blah. Capcom Collection... Oh, see, I'm so tired, people. Capcom Classics Collection Reloaded. And, of course, here I got both Burnout Legends and Dominator. And, of course, Activision Hits Remixed, which is basically all the Atari 2600 games ported over to that. So, yeah, people, that is what is on this. So, like I said, emulation in some cases can be a good thing for, things like this. I do recommend doing. But, you just got to be kind of weary on some of the emulation devices out there. Definitely do a lot of your research before you make a final decision on things like that. And do you want to do it unless you don't have a lot of space in your house, or if you don't have a game room, so on and so forth. Well, that's about it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, always feel free to leave them down at the bottom. And I'm always on Facebook and Twitter, so hope to talk to you there. And that's about it. Have a good one, everybody, and take care. Cheers.